Hi, everyone. Welcome to Summer EBT Deep Dive, Eligibility, hosted by the Food Research and Action Center. I'm Steve Hayward, Communications Manager at FRAC. Before we begin, I'd like to cover a few brief housekeeping items. We expect this webinar to run about 30 minutes. We are recording the presentation and will send the recording and slides in a follow-up email. Closed captioning is available. To turn captions on, select Show Captions in the bottom taskbar and choose English as the spoken language. At the end of the presentation, there will be time for questions and answers. To ask a question at any time during the webinar, please use the Q&A tab in the bottom taskbar. With that, I'll pass it off to Kelsey Boone, Senior Child Nutrition Policy Analyst at FRAC.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. I know that this is a very busy time of year, so I really appreciate everyone taking some time out to join us, and for USDA taking some time out to join us today. Just wanted to go over briefly today's agenda. I will be doing a quick intro on Summer EBT and going over some resources from FRAC, and then I will be passing it over to USDA to discuss eligibility in the Summer EBT program, and then we will round it out with a question and answer session. Next slide. So Summer EBT is a new program that begins in 2024, summer of 2024. It is permanent and nationwide. It was established in the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2023. And it provides $40 per child per month, and that'll be adjusted for inflation in future years on an EBT card for groceries. We really see this, and I know USDA also does, as a complement to the summer nutrition programs, and allows for reduced food insecurity for low-income households, particularly in rural areas or areas with low access to summer meals. Next slide. Some of the statutory requirements for Summer EBT include some deadlines. So the states must notify USDA by January 1st of each year if they plan to run the program, and must submit an administrative and management plan by February 15th. Benefits must be issued automatically to a large majority of students who are eligible, and that is exactly what we'll be talking about today, with an opt-out option. Applications must be made available for children who are not certified for free or reduced price meals, or who are not able to be directly certified during the school year. Again, we will go more into detail in this presentation. Benefits must be removed or expunged after 4 months, and states have to cover 50% of summer EBT administrative expenses, whereas in the pandemic EBT program, 100% of those administrative expenses were covered. Next slide. So coming up very quickly are some of the deadlines for Summer EBT 2024. As I said before, January 1st, states, territories, and Indian tribal organizations must submit a notice of intent to operate the program in summer of 2024. Submitting a notice of intent is not binding. There is no penalty for a state that submits an NOI, but is unable to execute the program. Just really want to reiterate that, as we know that the Christmas holiday is coming up and a lot of people will be out of office. So really pushing states forward for that January 1st deadline is really important. And then the second deadline is February 15th of 2024. And that's when states, territories, and Indian tribal organizations must submit a final plan for operation and management. And after submission of that plan, states can begin drawing down benefit funds. Next slide. So there are a group of states that have already submitted their notice of intents, and those are displayed here. I believe it is 16 states, as well as 2 Indian tribal organizations, the Cherokee Nation and the Chickasaw Nation, as well as two territories. So the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands and Guam have both submitted their notice of intents. There are also, I believe, from the last I heard, 2 states and 1 territory that have submitted a plan of operation and management. So that is Colorado and Delaware, and then also Guam. Next slide. Quickly wanted to touch on some of FRAC's resources before I hand it over to USDA. So we have a brand new resource out, and those are state-by-state fact sheets. So these fact sheets include the number of eligible children for each state, as well as the expected benefit amount that a state can expect to distribute during the summer EBT program, as well as a predicted economic impact. That number is drawn from a USDA report that looks at the SNAP multiplier at times of economic downturn, and that is a range number, and those are also reflected in those fact sheets. So when we send out these slides, you can click on that link, or in the follow-up email that we send, we can also highlight that. And those fact sheets, there's one for each state and each territory, and they can be really helpful in advocacy, in just kind of giving an overview of the program. We also have a bunch of other resources, including a guide to summer EBT eligibility, which is, again, what we will be touching on today. We have a one-pager on why states must operate summer EBT and the summer nutrition programs. And then we have some more general information about summer EBT in the 6 things you need to know, and planning for summer EBT administrative costs. And then we just have a Q&A, a summer EBT website that includes a brief Q&A. So those are some resources that FRAC has, and I believe that USDA is going to touch on some of the resources that they have coming up. So I am going to pass it over to Allison to give us our presentation on eligibility. So Allison.
Thanks, Kelsey, and hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Allison Maurice with FNS's External Affairs team. I'm joined by 2 subject matter experts, Whitney from our Child Nutrition team and Rogelio from our SNAP team, who are going to be available to support me during all of your questions today. So thank you again for joining us, and I look forward to getting started. Next slide. So I think I'm preaching to the choir. We all know children need consistent access to nutritious food to grow, learn, and thrive. And FNS is committed to supporting children year-round through our nutrition assistance programs. Next slide. And unfortunately, summertime can not only should be for fun, but it's unfortunately, food insecurity rises during the summer when nearly 30 million children who participate in USDA school breakfast and lunch programs lose access to these critical and nutritious meals. Next slide. So as Kelsey already mentioned, Congress took bold bipartisan action last year and started a permanent nationwide program that can be launched in summer 2024. And states, territories, and eligible tribes can provide families with $120 per eligible child over the summer months to buy groceries when schools are out. And I want to emphasize that this benefit is in addition to our critical and vital summer nutrition sites that already exist. So states, territories, and eligible tribes can provide these benefits on an electronic benefit transfer or EBT cards, much like SNAP benefits. And in fact, some states, these benefits may be loaded onto a family SNAP EBT card, or it might be a separate card. It is up to the state. But I do want to just really emphasize summer EBT is truly a story of evidence-based policy at its best. Rigorous evaluations of summer EBT pilots in several states over a decade show that summer EBT cut the number of children who experience the most severe forms of food insecurity by 1/3 and improved nutrition intake. Next slide. So today we're going to deep dive into summer EBT eligibility and enrollment, and we'll make sure to take your questions at the end. The information we are sharing today comes from our July eligibility guidance, along with our recent Q&As that we released. And as you likely know, FNS is working on an interim final rule that will provide more details on eligibility, but that interim final rule is still in progress and expected to be released at the end of the year. Next slide. So to begin, I want to emphasize that there are 2 pathways to summer EBT eligibility. One we're calling streamlined certification, and the second pathway is through a summer EBT application. The vast majority of children will be deemed eligible for summer EBT through the streamlined certification process and will not need to fill out an application. So let's take a look closer at streamlined certification. So children who can be streamlined certified for summer EBT are already deemed income eligible for free or reduced price meals using existing administrative data available at the local or state/tribal level. Another important note is that these children do not need to be matched against school enrollment data in order to receive summer EBT benefits. So we are talking about kids who already have an eligibility determination made by a school by using a school meal application. We're talking about kids who participate in SNAP or other direct certification programs like FDPR, TANF, or Medicaid if your state uses Medicaid data to determine eligibility for free school meals, or additional programs that your state can use for direct certification. So this also includes children who are categorically eligible for free school meals, an example of that being homeless or foster care children. So again, we want to emphasize that the vast majority of eligible children, all the groups that I just described, can be streamlined certified for summer EBT and do not need to fill out an application. So now I'm going to transition to a discussion on who needs to fill out summer EBT applications. And again, just to emphasize that this is a much smaller group. So, and I see we already have a question in the chat about this. So we're going to dig right into this, Lisa. So certain children who attend schools that offer breakfast and lunch, offer breakfast and lunch at no cost, and that those kids do not already have that streamlined certification designation will need to fill out a summer EBT application to qualify for benefits. So the biggest group of children that will need to fill out an application are those that attend special provision schools. And when we say special provision schools, we generally mean schools offering meals at no cost to all kids through community eligibility or CEP. But of course, we know there are still some provision 1 and 2 schools out there. So this applies to those children as well. So as many of you know, children in special provision schools get free meals no matter what their individual household income status is. So those schools do not collect the NSLP applications annually. However, for summer EBT, Congress specified that children attending special provision schools will need to fill out a summer EBT application if administrative data conferring their eligibility does not already exist for the student, i.e., if the student is eligible but not already identified through that streamlined certified process, that child will need to fill out an application to receive summer EBT benefits. And we know that this is a hot topic because it's a divergence from how things were done with pandemic EBT. So it's going to require to reinitiate an application process for these eligible children that attend these schools. Another group of children who may fill out a summer EBT application are children enrolled at schools that do not offer free meals to all students, and therefore, they do free meals, reduced price meals, or full price copays. Eligible kids that have not already been, identified through that regular school meal application process can fill out a summer EBT application and receive summer EBT benefits. Next slide. All right. So now we're going to talk about some flexibilities for summer 2024. We understand that many local education agencies and states use what we refer to as an alternative income application or a household application. And it's a way that states collect socioeconomic data on their students in special provision schools. And this data is often used for various purposes, such as state education funding formulas, etc. So we've been asked many times, will FNS accept alternative income applications as summer EBT applications? And the answer is yes. but only for 2024. During summer 2024, to provide administrative flexibility, alternative income applications that are currently used in some special provision schools may be used to confer eligibility if they allow a summer EBT agency to determine whether the household is at or below the NSLP reduced priced income threshold. States, eligible tribal nations and territories, and LEAs may use these alternative income applications for summer EBT in 2024, or make a summer EBT application available for children, which could also be a USDA prototype application, for example. But we want to emphasize that in future years, FNS will require states and ITOs to make available a statewide application, and this requirement will be implemented through the forthcoming interim final rule. Next slide. I also want to take a moment to clarify something about matching students who apply for summer EBT against student enrollment data. So states will need to match summer EBT applications processed at the state or tribal level against NSLP school enrollment data. And once again, to be clear, children who are not enrolled in NSLP schools and are not streamlined certified will not be eligible for summer EBT. The only subset of children who don't attend an NSLP school that are eligible are those who are going to be streamlined certified. In other words, if they are within the specified age range and participate in SNAP or another means tested program, then they can participate in summer EBT. But if they don't attend an NSLP school and they're not going to fall into that streamlined certified category, then they're not eligible for the program. So for example, a child who is homeschooled but does not participate in SNAP or any other program that we can confer eligibility through existing administrative data, this child will not be eligible for summer EBT. Again, we will provide additional information in the forthcoming interim final rule. However, what we want to convey is that we're really trying to simplify the summer EBT certification process as much as possible. Next slide. So let's talk about verification for summer EBT applications, another topic that's been a source of some questions. So for summer 2024, summer EBT applications or alternative applications are subject to verification for cause following NSLP verification for cause rules. So for those of you who are not familiar with these rules, verification for cause within the school meal program is when an application is selected for verification because there's something questionable about the information provided. For summer 2025 and beyond, the verification process will be more closely in line with the NSLP approach to verification than the SNAP process. In other words, verification will be conducted for a sample of summer EBT applications after the initial eligibility determination of a self-attested income application is made. States are not going to be expected to verify all summer EBT applications before benefits can be issued. The summer EBT verification process is intended to align with the typical child nutrition program approach of requiring verification on a subset of applications, which we know this can be a fairly new concept for our partners who work on SNAP. Next slide. All right, now I want to move to another topic that we've gotten questions about, and that's the age range for summer EBT. Children of any age who are enrolled in an NSLP or school breakfast program participating school are eligible for summer EBT if they are also eligible for free or reduced price meals. So this includes children of high school grade or under, including preschool age children, as well as students who are mentally or physically disabled or defined by the state, and who are participating in a school program established for the mentally or physically disabled. So children not enrolled in NSLP participating schools who are certified through streamlined certification must be school age. So for the purposes of streamlined certification, school age means the years in which a child is required to attend a school or an equivalent program as defined by state or tribal law. This is also known as the age requirement for compulsory education. And that was probably a mouthful, so I really encourage you to check out the Q&As where you can really read this out and probably digest it a little easier. All right, next slide. All right, so now we're going to move to the period for establishing summer EBT eligibility. Households must have the opportunity to establish eligibility for summer EBT at any point between the start of the immediately preceding school year and the last day of the summer operational period, which will generally encompass more than an entire calendar year. Therefore, summer EBT agencies must accept and process applications throughout the year. However, summer EBT agencies are permitted to encourage applications to be submitted before the start of the summer operational period. For example, in communications to households, summer EBT agencies would be permitted to say, in order to receive summer EBT benefits prior to the start of summer, please submit your application no later than March 1st. And I just want to highlight that, sometimes you might hear children will get $40 per month or $120 for the summer. And, we like to really kind of focus on that $120 figure because states might be issuing benefits in different ways, whether it's a lump sum or monthly. But the overall gist is that eligible children, each eligible child will get $120 worth of grocery benefits, regardless of when they apply for summer EBT. Even if it's like at the end of that summer operational period, the eligible child will still get $120. Next slide. So just for more information, we have our Q&As online, and we have the eligibility guidance, and there's a ton of info being put up weekly with our implementation toolkit, and I'll be sure to send Kelsey a list of links that she can include in any follow-up. But I think at this point, I'm happy to turn it back to Kelsey, and we can jump into some questions. And I'll invite Rogelio and Whitney to join me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Allison. Yes, so we got a question early on, and it says, can someone confirm, is this new format of summer EBT a replacement of what has been called PEBT in the past few years? And if so, am I understanding correctly that summer EBT doesn't go to all children in public schools, but will go to children whose families are income eligible?
I'll go ahead and answer that. I actually worked on PEBT. I worked on it from the get-go. And I can tell you there's a lot of similarities. A lot of similarities, particularly with the summer EBT version with the summer version of PEBT. So there was summer PEBT and now there's summer EBT. There's a lot of similarities. But PEBT was always a temporary program, and summer EBT is a new program. PEBT ended this past year, summer EBTs. So do you want to call it a replacement? I suppose you could say that it's filling the space, but it's not the same program. They are separate and distinct, even though there are differences. I guess it just depends on whether you want to treat it as one other thing I will say. I think we learned a lot of lessons about what to do and what not to do from PEBT, and we're trying to incorporate the good things that we learned from PEBT and summer, and not repeat any of the mistakes.
Great, thank you so much. The next question is, what are the responsibilities of the school food authorities?
I can take that one. So summer EBT responsibilities lie with the state agencies. There are no specific responsibilities for SFAs in the statute. And so it's really going to be up to the states on how or if they want to work with their local, their LEAs or their SFAs, and to what extent. So obviously they have a logical role to play in that they are generally the owners of that student level data, which is the primary basis of the eligibility. But the state is ultimately responsible for the certification process. So they can choose to, contract with SFAs, or, enter into written agreements. But there are no inherent SFA responsibilities in summer EBT. if that answers your question.
Thanks. And a quick question that just came in. SFA is School Food Authority. So those are the group, the school districts, their food distributors. So that's what SFA is. Next question that came in is, what about benefits for kids at locked facilities?
Locked facilities?
If the person who asked this question is able to put some follow-up in the question and answer, that would be really helpful, just so we understand what that what exactly you're looking for there. Next question is, could you please repeat the second group of children who must fill out the summer EBT application?
I'm happy to take that, or Whitney, go ahead if you'd like.
No, you go ahead, because I don't actually remember how you're.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, yes. But we'll just go ahead and talk about them in general. So the kids that need to fill out an application are going to be the children who are attending a special provision school. So the school is offering free meals to all students, but that child is not one of those like identified students or directly certified students. They're a kid who doesn't have any sort of administrative data for their household. If they're eligible, and if their household is income eligible, then they can apply through the application and be determined eligible. And then the second group of kids are going to be kids that are not attending a special provision school, and they have not filled out a free or reduced price application, and they're not directly certified, but they're still eligible. So, you know, those kids would be that second group that would need to fill out a summer EBT application. I think I captured all of them, but.
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes I just think of them as one group, which is any kid that attends an NSLP school that doesn't already have an individual eligibility determination. So we know that a lot of kids get a free meal because of a community eligibility status. But for summer EBT, they need to have an individual eligibility status.
All right, we got lots of questions pouring in, so we'll move to the next one. Are private school students eligible if they meet the free reduced price meal eligibility requirement?
So I can take this one. It will depend. If they do not attend an NSLP school, they will only get the summer EBT benefit if they're within that state's compulsory school age range, and they participate in one of the approved programs that makes them categorically eligible. But if that private school does offer the NSLP, then that child could get a benefit either through a program participation, like a categorical eligibility status, or they could complete an application. So it kind of depends on what type of school or whether that private school participates in NSLP.
Great. Next question. Does USDA have a plan in place to publicize the need to apply for summer EBT, TV ads, radio ads, PSAs, or will this fall to the state?
I can go ahead and hop it in here, and I'm going to drop a link in the chat for everyone. So we are working on a summer EBT outreach toolkit. And this is going to include resources that you know, anyone can use, like fact sheets, but it's also going to include customizable resources that states or advocates in a state could use to then upload specific state information. And the reason for that is obviously, you know, kids will be applying, families will be applying for summer EBT through the state, right? So we need to, the resources available are going to need to be customizable with your links, or you know, the phone number, your hotline numbers, or specific you know, groups of kids that are going to be streamlined certified in that specific state. So we're really trying to provide states with the framework and easy to use customizable documents. And we are making the outreach materials in multiple languages, even beyond Spanish, which we're really excited about. And we expect that the outreach toolkit will be in its full completion, or we'll probably continue to add to it, but will be ready to be used by the end of January. But you will see with the link that we do have some materials already up on the website that can start to be used to get information out there.
The next question is there a responsibility / requirement for school food authorities to provide the enrollment and school meal eligibility data?
Sorry, let me see that one again. Is there a responsibility for schools to provide the enrollment data? Is that what it is?
Yes.
I mean, it is the responsibility of state agencies to serve all eligible kids. And so the way that that will happen is that states will need to work with their SFAs to get the data that's necessary. You know, there's nothing in our program requirements that, you know, that have authority over SFAs and how they sort of plug into this program. But the responsibility for states is that they serve all eligible kids, which in general is going to mean that all the SFAs need to, you know, submit that data to states.
Okay. The next question is around, I know we're going over, so if people have to hop off, is the USDA folks okay sticking around for a few more minutes to answer some more questions? Okay,
Sure.
awesome. The recording, for those who have to hop off, the recording will be up later, probably late next week, so that you can check back in for the answer to some of these questions. So, okay, next question is around the difference between an application for free reduced price school meals and the summer EBT application. Will we be confusing parents and school districts with two different applications that they need to pay attention to?
So thanks, that's a good question, and one we've been thinking about a lot here at USDA as well. The difference between the summer EBT application and the NSLP application is only in that Social Security number field. That is a statutory requirement in the school meal program, but it is not required for summer EBT. So it could be included on an application, but the families can't be required to complete that field. So for a lot of states, it will probably make sense to, you know, just direct people to their school meal application. But perhaps they can make like a small change to where, you know, the SSN field wouldn't be required. Or you can, you know, offer two different applications, but we agree with you that that could get a little bit hard to message to families about which one they need to complete. So we are going to be trying to work with states to develop messaging that makes sense for households, and make sure that they also know really clearly what can be used, since the summer EBT application may or may not be able to confer eligibility for school meals if it doesn't have that SSN field on it. So it's going to be a little bit tricky, but we've been thinking through it, and we're confident that we're going to be able to come up with some good messaging.
Yeah, and I'll just add that we have plans for our outreach toolkit to include sample letters that schools can send to households. And so we do want to really try to help in that area. Thanks. And Kelsey, I'll just say we probably have about 5 more minutes.
Okay, perfect.
Another engagement to hop on. So
I'll pick some of the bigger, wider ranging questions. Will FNS work with states who have good reasons to expand beyond the compulsory age for streamlined certification? How does FNS envision states handling kids who are on direct cert lists who are outside of the streamlined certification compulsory education range in that state?
Okay, I think I understand what this is asking. I mean, the eligibility guidelines included in the IFR, they are what they are, and that is if you are not in an NSLP participating school, you're going to get summer EBT if you're within that compulsory age range and categorically eligible. So for the most part, you know, kids should be getting summer EBT through their NSLP eligibility determination. And then, you know, those streamlined cert kids can also fill in some gaps that are outside of the NSLP population, if that answers your question.
The next question is, what happens if a child is streamlined certified, but a household also completes a summer EBT application?
We are hoping that that is not the case because states will need to be sending notifications to households well in advance of the summer that they're already going to get summer EBT without further action or without the need to apply. We want to try to limit that burden on households as much as we can. So hopefully the family will know that they don't have to submit an application and won't do that. But if they do submit an application and it is processed, it would either just be sort of filed away or maybe even discarded if it's already matched against a streamlined cert list and the state already knows that that kid is getting summer EBT.
The states do have to develop procedures to catch and prevent dual participation. So that would be participation in more than one state summer EBT program, in more than one ITO EBT program, or a state and ITO program. And that covers situations like you get streamlined certified and then you submit an application. In no circumstance should a child receive more than 3 months of benefits. That would be kind of a dual participation. So they'd have to have some method of catching that.
Okay, I think we'll just do 2 more quick ones, and then any additional questions that come through, I'll send to Allison, and we can try to get some of those answers for the follow-up. So the first one is, if a school qualifies for universal school meals, does that mean that all students in that school automatically qualify for summer EBT?
So I assume that that means that through the NSLP provisions, although we know that a lot of states are offering free meals to all kids, even outside of that. But again, those kids, each kid needs to have an individual determination. So they need to have either an approved application on file, or they need to have been participating in one of those approved programs at some point during the period of eligibility.
All right. And I think the last question I'll end with is, are senior graduates able to get summer EBT?
They are, if they were enrolled in an NSLP school in the prior school year, and they are income eligible, or they were categorically eligible. So yes, if you're 18 or older, even if you were in an NSLP school, you will. Or actually, to the extent that I actually don't think that any state's compulsory age ranges go to 18. I could be wrong about that, but if there is a state that has a compulsory age range up to 18, that kid could also get benefits through streamlined cert.
Great. I think we'll go ahead and wrap there. I really want to thank USDA for being on. Again, if you have any more questions, feel free to email me at FRAC, and I can pass those questions back along to USDA. And we will try to get any further questions that were in the chat that we didn't get to answered in the follow-up email that we will send out. So I just put my email in the chat. Again, thank you so much, USDA. We really appreciate you being on today. And I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday, and we will see you in the new year.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Everyone.